Wayne Madsen, formerly with the NSA, in Navy anti-submarine warfare before that, written for some of the biggest publications in the country. WayneMadsenReport.com is his site to read his updates and weekly journal. And Wayne, I don't know your take on all this yet, but you just heard what I said about the military being freaked out. Give us the highlights of what's happening in Syria, where you think this is going, how big a defeat it is for Obama that he said he was going to attack last week, but then had to go to Congress, and what the word is on how historical this is. Am I wrong in saying what we're seeing is the type of stuff that led up to the collapse of the Soviet Union?
Yes, partially, Alex, and I can tell you that as of last Friday, and this comes from White House sources who were willing to talk about what happened last Friday night. Last Friday night, President Obama had agreed to launch, probably in the wee hours of Saturday morning, East Coast time, this cruise missile attack and possibly with a drone attack on Syrian targets. He bought off on what was pressured upon him by our ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, the national, I should say, ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, the national security advisor and former ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, deputy national security advisor, Ben Rhodes, who I would point out has two brothers in executive positions at CBS News and NBC News, and also Secretary of State Kerry. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, General Dempsey, visited the White House very early in the morning on Saturday morning, right after midnight, with one last plea, and basically told Obama, look, if you attack Syria, you're going to get in deep. And when you get in deep without congressional authorization, you're going to be screwed. Upon hearing that from Dempsey, Obama decided to hold off, try to get congressional approval, and I guess we can thank, in this case, so much unlike what happened with President Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. In this case, the generals actually stood in the way between Obama attacking Syria and maintaining this very tenuous peace.
And by the way, everything you're saying has actually been in the Israeli news, and a lot of it's been confirmed. And it's on record that Dempsey keeps telling Obama, don't do it. And then Obama got up there on his Saturday afternoon speech and lied and said Dempsey was behind his plan. But I guess he means Dempsey said you better get congressional approval and not go this alone.
Well, Dempsey is not only convinced Obama to get congressional approval, which is by no means a sure thing, but also Dempsey is of the opinion that once this conflagration begins, the Pentagon will not necessarily be able to stop it because of the war games that the Pentagon has conducted over the years, that many of which show that this thing could spiral out of control. Just like with an preemptive military attack on Iran, this preemptive military attack on Syria shows some of the same results.
Sure. I mean, don't most analysts, including former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, former members of the Joint Chiefs, they're all on record saying this would probably turn into a bigger regional war. Syria and Iran will hit Israel. Then Israel might respond even with nukes, or the U.S. gets drug in. Then it's the Russians. Then it's World War III. And what's the American geopolitical reason? This only hurts our interest with Assad, who in the last, again, 8 years, tried to start working with the West. The message is, you try to democratize and work with us, we're going to turn al-Qaeda loose in your country.
This has to do with Obama trying to placate a bunch of adolescent, as far as military strategy is concerned, and Samantha Power, Susan Rice, who are nothing more than a couple of spoiled brats who want to, they feel the way you get somebody like Assad is just to attack them. We have this Ben Rhodes, who obviously is part of this operation with his two brothers at CBS and NBC to gin up the propaganda for the war, but they're not listening to the seasoned military strategists, the seasoned military officers who know what is going to happen when we do this. Obama's listening to these responsibility to protect. You know, a group of people stub their toe in some country. They want to go in and, with the full force of the United States and rectify the situation. That's not how geopolitics
Well, plus
work.
that's a total cover. It's about regime change, breaking that country up in multiple parts. They started it 2.5 years ago. But expanding on this, I don't think the New World Order is going to fall tomorrow. My point is that there is a collapse in confidence in the system. The military's waking up, and it's panicking the power structure. And I'm not the only one saying that. Former member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Jack Keane, is saying that in the New York Times. You've got Dr. Paul Craig Roberts saying it's the biggest diplomatic failure in forever. I mean, it makes them look like total fools, but in a way that's scarier, that it is a bunch of weirdo women, nothing against women, but these women are weirdo nanny state women, playing general, and all these weirdo neocons, who are too busy, hanging out. Well, you know what they're doing. The point is it's almost more scary, though, that you've got a bunch of weirdos on power trips and bankers trying to call military shots against Russia and China through this proxy. And so I want you to comment on that, but first go back. Historically, how big a deal is this defeat for Obama?
The fact that the British Parliament for the first time voted not to go to war, not to authorize war since 1782, when they voted not to maintain Britain's colonial army, the army of occupation in the American colonies, and then decided to sue for peace. This is a big deal because this effectively drives a stake in what was known as the U.S.-British special relationship. Look, the Central Command in Tampa is now freezing out all British military officers from all planning exercises.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's in the Associated Press. How big a deal is that like childishly blaming the British military like they're the parliament when our own military doesn't want to do it, clearly above the military, ordering all the British officers thrown out of the war rooms. This is incredible.
It is. And we're one step away, I guess, from the officers club at MacDill Air Force Base serving up Thomas Freedom muffins and offering up Freedom Ale and Freedom Marmalade. It's childish. It's absolutely childish what we're seeing happen. But look, this isn't the generals doing this to their British officer colleagues. This is coming from the White House. This is the same sort of petty punishment we saw with when the French opted not to support us with the foolish invasion of Iraq.
And by the way, the British have now responded, just to finish up the point you raised, by saying, fine, there won't be another vote even if there's another nerve gas attack, because they know they're just going to stage another one. So now, rebuffing them, now the British are going to act childish. This is the kind of stuff you see before regimes disintegrate.
That's right, and you're right. This is a sea change, but let's look at what's happening in light of what's happening with the revelations of Edward Snowden, the NSA whistleblower. This is like a double, and if you add in the WikiLeaks stuff, which I don't put a whole lot of weight on the WikiLeaks disclosures, not as much as the NSA stuff, but we're seeing at least a double a whammy against the United States. You've got Dilma Rousseff, the Brazilian president, thinking about canceling her state visit to Washington, the only state visit that Obama had scheduled for this year because of NSA eavesdropping on her private communications.
You've got Obama canceling any more press conferences. This is a collapse-level event.
It really is. I think what we're seeing is the beginning of the end of this American exceptionalism around the world, that we can do anything we want and expect everybody will go along with us. Russia's not buying this. China is not buying this. I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of the American empire. We will probably wind up being a regional power with influence over the Caribbean and Canada and some of the Pacific Ocean countries, but nothing like what we see today.
And I want to explain something. I believe this is the beginning of the rebirth of the Republic, because it's not an American empire, though we use that term because that's what's known. It's a globalist bankster empire using America and our treasure and our name. The only reason we were honored and the reason people worked with us was because compared to the other countries and empires, we were guys that played somewhat more fair. But as soon as we lost that soft power, and as soon as the world figured out we had wicked people running us, all the power is draining out. And because we are occupied by the globalists here in America, that just doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't going to be occupied now. It means we aren't going to be occupied as bad. Because as they fall back here and say, well, at least we can rule America, that's not going to work either. Because as soon as the dollar's dead, it's over for the federal government and the New World Order and all these idiot federal workers, pensions, and all. And most of them aren't bad people. They actually know that's true. But the types that think, you know, they rule the roost, you know, let me tell you, this is going to get wild, though, Wayne.
Yeah, and the other thing we're seeing, too, is we're seeing faulty intelligence being sold. The French and German intelligence reports, they're not showing any evidence. They're saying, believe us. You know, after the British dodgy dossier that got us convinced that we should go into Iraq and got the British people convinced to go in Iraq, nobody should be falling for this stuff out of the intelligence agencies. You know, basically Obama is relying almost exclusively on Israeli signals intelligence said to come from intercepts by Unit 8200, that's Israel's version of the NSA, of Syrian commanders ordering this attack. Nobody can make the determination that the Syrian government had anything to do with the attack until the actual missiles that are being cited by the French are actually, examined to make sure that they actually ever had anything like sarin gas. But what we do know is Al-Qaeda in Syria has been caught manufacturing sarin gas at 3 facilities in Iraq, 2 in Baghdad, 1 in one of the outlying provinces. They were caught using chlorine gas to attack civilians in the city of Homs last March, and they've been caught with sarin gas in Turkey, and they've also been caught with mustard gas.
Yeah, they're getting caught over and over again by our allies with these different gases, poison gases, and then they still have the nerve to blame Assad, but no one. What do you make of Pat Buchanan, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, all coming out and saying false flag? I mean, this is exciting.
Yes, I'm glad they're finally putting false flag into the lexicon of American politics, because we've been treated to these false flags so many times in the past. And immediately people are accused of being conspiracy theorists.
Here's my last question, Wayne Madsen. What about false flag? Isn't that one of the only tools they've got now, is a big domestic or foreign false flag to blame on and say, see, we told you so?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. That's why the BBC ran a false photograph of dead civilians in Iraq and said these were people that were killed by the sarin attack in Syria. This has happened time and time again. We've seen a video of canisters being handled by Chechen guerrillas that were taking them into Syria to give them over to the rebels. So
incredible.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at INFOWARS.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the InfoWars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happened.
So check it out, InfoWars.com/show.